All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Aaron here, back once again with a Remote Closing Academy podcast. This is episode number 3, and this episode is specifically for a couple of people. The first person is someone that is currently in a job. If you're listening to this and you're currently in a job that you think that you're not getting paid what you're actually worth, which trick question is probably a lot of you if you are currently working a 9 to 5 and you're looking for some way out of that, right? That's the first person. The second person is if you're someone that is, that's taking on a ton of responsibility. Maybe you're in a management position, you're in charge of other people and not tell them what to do, but you lead other people within the company, but you're also not getting compensated accordingly. This is going to be for you because the guy that we're talking to today, absolute savage stud, every single word that is similar to that. And he was able to, he's working full time at a job. And in his second month of being a remote closer, he was able to use the same strategies, the same things that not only did we teach him, but he's learning and that he has from his current job, and was able to make $30,000 in a single month, in his second or third month of joining the program. So, I want to leave this quick disclaimer here at the beginning as well is don't ever take that as you coming in as a remote closer, you're going to make that money. But I mean, you'll hear within the episode, he worked his full-time job. He was able to make time. He didn't find time that was non-existent. He made time to make it happen and make an absolute change and a difference for himself and his family. So I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off there. Let's jump into episode number 3 here with Navin. Dude, how's the day going so far?
It's been going great, man. Starting off, first of all, I love your shirt. Looks
Thanks.
awesome. It actually reminds me. So my family's from the Fiji Islands, so reminds me of that. So yeah, morning is going great, man.
Awesome. So, dude, we talked a little bit before we clicked record and just kind of learning more about you and your story. And I think it's really awesome because, you only jumped to RCA, the program, in April, and we're recording this in July. So you've had a pretty quick progression. Before we jump really deep into, your success within the program, things like that, let's just rewind the clocks. Maybe, before you jumped into, RCA, the Remote Closing Academy, or just remote closing in general, what were you doing from a career job standpoint? Just maybe talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So funny thing is I went to college. I actually went for engineering. I wanted to be in the pharmaceutical world, help find cures, all that good stuff. Went into that industry and realized, it's very lonely, isolated, and very repetitive. And I realized that I needed to be around people. So I started kind of venturing out, wanting to learn about sales management. And I, ended up with a really good corporate job, progressed my way there. I only was on the sales floor for about 13 months before they started putting me in management roles and putting up some big numbers as a salesperson. So, basically been doing that for 14 years. And, the corporate world is good for, if you just like a steady income and whatnot, not much high reward, I guess, but steady, that's the world you want to be in. But I knew for a long time now that I just wanted to do something that's a little bit more high risk, a little bit more high reward, and get paid what I'm worth.
Yeah. Cool, man. And you just touched on, and I didn't even know this part about you, but I think anyone that I talk to that's an engineer that comes from an engineering background. My wife was an engineer. Their brains work a little bit differently, and maybe I'm just assuming, but I'm assuming very kind of structured, having plans in place. So, that compared to jumping into something that is a little bit more remote, like RCA, taking a chance on yourself. For someone that's listening to this, that is a little bit more in the same mindset, more analytical, what made you want to make that jump and kind of risk, like you said, high risk for you and your family?
Yeah. So I would say, based on my college experience, so I was going to, Oregon State University, and, I was doing science and engineering there, and I was kind of I didn't enjoy the process at all. I was just hoping that in the end of the day, it would all figure it out, but it never did. But along the way, I did found some organizations there, and I was president of a couple of organizations that were very successful, and I was truly enjoying that. I could have done it for free. I did do it for free, but
Mhm.
I could have had, I could have just kept on doing that and really enjoyed what I was doing, and it was very people oriented. And but I also brought that organizational side to it with that engineering mindset, and when I was doing these engineering jobs, I always had that in the back of my mind, like eventually I want to turn it into something where I'm working with people, and it's not all analytical. It's there's some, like just getting to know people and that sort of thing. And I knew that I deep down inside just naturally enjoyed that.
Yeah.
A lot of people told me, along the years, they're like, you're the only engineer I know that knows how to talk to people. So I always knew that I was going to get into some sort of management role, leadership role, and that's what I truly enjoy. So when I started learning about RCA, and I'd actually been on the prospect side of high ticket sales numerous times, and there were a
Mhm.
couple of experiences where I just thought I was talking to somebody that was really sharp, and I was like, this is kind of cool. It's not like what you would think in the online side of it. You're talking to really legit people that know what they're doing, and I that was always in the back of my mind, but I never knew like how to get a job like that. I thought you had to probably be friends with the founder or something like
Yeah.
that, or and then once RCA's, I saw, maybe you were the one that posted it. I don't know. I saw it wasn't Cole's page. It was one of those motivational quote pages,
Yeah.
and I was swiping through all the different quotes, and one of them that struck me was, "The real flex is retiring your parents, not owning a Lambo," or something like that.
Mhm.
And that hit me because I was like, that resonates right there. Like being able to give your parents a good, post career life, and that sort of thing, that really struck with me. Um, and then also just, I think for myself, just making sure my kids don't have to worry about their parents. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
trying to take care of both things there. And that's when I started following, and just post after post, it just was like, holy crap, like he's talking about literally everything I've tried in the past that didn't work out.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what, maybe it is better to just start off helping somebody else build their company, and learning that way, and then who knows where it goes from there.
Yeah. Let's kind of piggyback off of that a little bit, because you were talking about how you found RCA and kind of the journey into it. What was, I guess, maybe your first impressions, we'll say, when you jumped into the program, you decided to make that jump for yourself. What were
Yeah.
kind of those first impressions of the program?
I thought it was pretty cool. Going through the online posts and all that. I think when I started going through the process of watching the videos, through the funnel, and seeing the numbers that Cole was talking about, I was, first of all, had no idea that somebody selling a coaching program could make that much. Like I said, I didn't know how to get the job, didn't know how to look it up. I thought you just had to have connections, or know somebody that happened to start an online company. Or so once I got in, I thought it was pretty cool that I had a one-on-one, very next day. And I think getting that plan from Tyler, just making it really easy to break it down and say, hey, this is what you do. And I was totally open to like whatever. Like I knew I had uh, you know, corporate experience and that sort of thing, but I came into it like, you coach me. I don't know anything,
Hmm.
and just give me the plan. Let me know if I'm doing all right every now and then. And it was just, it was just like one thing after another. I check off each video, got through it, and did my mocks. And funny thing is, I didn't even get a chance to do that many mocks, because every time I sent one to Tyler, she's like, "Yeah, you need to go to the next thing." You're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
you're done. You're done doing the setter one. Go to the closer one." Then I did a couple of closer mocks, and I sent out a couple to her, and I jumped on one of her live calls, which jumping on live calls has been a challenge for me because of the corporate job, but I definitely watch the recordings and I get a lot out of the recordings. But I jumped on this one live call, and she was looking for a volunteer to run through the closer mock, and there was like silence for like probably 20 seconds, but
How
nobody
it
was saying
usually
anything.
is.
Yeah, and it felt like 5 minutes. Felt like 5 minutes. I was like thinking to myself, do I do this? This would be my third one. Do
Uh-huh.
I do it? I was like, all right, I'll do it. And went through that. I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, I am doing terribly here, and I'm like fumbling and bubbling, and my prospect is saying things that I've never heard before, and I'm like, how do I bounce back with that? And then by the end of it, it was like, she's like, I'm putting you in the pipeline. And I was like, holy cow, and just, things would just progress so quickly. But what I would say is, if you follow the plan and you just force yourself to get out there, do the mocks, fall on your face, you're just going to keep moving forward, and that's what happened. It's
Yeah.
just been like one big whirlwind after another. I've really wanted to do more mocks with people even after I got the job, but it's just been such a whirlwind between the two worlds of corporate and this offer that's like really random. And like some weeks you have like a full calendar, and some weeks it's just like 3 calls here and there. And then but it's just been, yeah, it's been mind blowing. I can't believe, it's been what, 3 months, and it feels like at least a year. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, man. It from the posts that I've seen is like it's consistent progression. Actually, really quick, explain what a mock call is to people that are listening to this that like have no idea about remote closing, just so they have like an understanding.
Yeah, so basically practice with your peers. You throw your link out there, and people will join, and you just try to practice in an environment where it's safe, and you're not being judged. And everybody that I've partnered with has been super encouraging, and they've given me great feedback, and I do the same for them. And the cool part is, eventually you meet them in person, and it's a pretty cool experience there. But basically the mock call is helping you just work through the kinks, and in a safe environment, and before you're ready to kind of jump into the live thing.
Cool, man. And I do want to kind of break down one thing really quickly for those of you that are listening. One thing that Navin talked about was the pipeline, right? Getting put into the pipeline. And the cool part about RCA specifically, that and this is coming from someone that has known Cole for a while, and just understanding that it really just is a family of people that want you to grow. So basically the pipeline, what it is when you partner up with RCA, the other division, we'll say, of Closers.io is called STA, which is Sales Team Accelerator. And the benefit of us really like teaching people, right? Teaching people within RCA is that with these, within Sales Team Accelerator, these are, high ticket programs that are looking for appointment setters and remote closers, right? So when we can train people internally and say, hey, give them the stamp of approval of RCA, we can then put them in the pipeline of these other businesses that are actively looking for setters and closers. And the cool part is, again, on each side is within RCA, you're getting that stamp of approval, and that's, really that trust with it, for coming from Cole Gordon. And then on the STA side, as a setter or closer, that you're getting placed into a business that at least has some credibility, right? You're not going into like, a complete startup where they have no appointments or nothing for you, and you're kind of set up for success, right? Going through the pipeline, you have a much better chance in getting placed in a really good offer, right? So,
Yeah.
So just kind of wanted to break that down for those that don't know what the pipeline is. So what would you say is like, what do you think has been the main thing to attribute to your quick growth? And I know you kind of mentioned a couple of those things, right? Like taking chances, jumping into the mock calls, doing the live mock with Tyler. And that's what kind of like, jump or helped you jump forward a little bit. But what, other than that, like, can you think of anything else that's attributed to that?
I think just being intentional, and not waiting for something to happen. I think you just have to make it happen. Obviously I still have my day job, and I found I made the time. I didn't have time, but I made it. And I just said, I have to figure this out. I have to get an offer. I've got to, get experience as quick as possible. If I'm trying to hit my goals the way, I'm looking at it, I had to learn quickly. And I think also just coming in and not having any kind of like, oh, I've been doing sales for 22 years. You know what I mean? Like I just said, you know what, this is new. Yeah, I might have some sales experience and sales leadership and all that, but this is a new industry, and it works different. So I'm completely flushing out what's here, and I'm going to relearn this thing. I'm going to master this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, we're probably going to have to turn that into a quote. You can't find time. You got to make time. Right. And I think that's been a really like a quote that we've heard in the first 2 episodes as well. It's like if you just jump into this and you're like, yeah, I'll like get to it when I can, it's like, it's never going to happen. Right. You got to take little sacrifices, or sometimes big sacrifices, right. To be able to get to the life you want to live,
Right.
So super, super powerful stuff there. We can't jump off this call without talking about the posts that you made, and we'll throw it up on screen. It was your Excel spreadsheet of the, I think it was for June, correct? The proposed versus actual.
Yep.
Cool. So, for those of you that are watching this, you basically have a spreadsheet it's proposed, commission, right? Or, sales and commission. And you propose that you were going to make 14.2 thousand, right? Is what we're based on, like the KPIs, but you actually made something different. So let's just talk about that really quickly and how you think that came to be.
Yeah. So originally, the funny thing is, when Uri sent me the offer and the info on it, the quote was 9K to 16K. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if I'm, if I'm hitting, like, if that's the full-time amount that I would be making, I don't know, like that. So that means basically I'm going to make about 4 or 5K because I don't have a full-time availability.
Yeah.
So, and I let my hiring manager know that too, like, hey, I'm transitioning and that sort of thing. So, so I was thinking to myself, like 4 or 5K. And basically, I opened up my calendar, nights, weekends, early mornings, to make it around, to take some paid time off if it was a crazy weekend. Messed around and got to 33,000. So
dude,
and it was shocking too. Like the funny thing is, like, I probably made 20,000 of that in the final week. And to start the month off, it was, so I had 4 calls before I went to the Ascension event, closed those 4. And then after that, didn't have a single call for another 10 days. And then slowly started trickling again. And, I pretty much figured out, like, hey, I got to go in there. I got to start setting some appointments, because the ads and that sort of thing, it's like, it's not bringing people into a point where it's like anything close to what I was expecting for calls. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back into the RCA training, learn the appointment setting again, use the stuff there, get people on the call that way. And I ended up sending about 20 myself. And once I got a good groove of that, I started training the setters. And once that all kind of came into, together, and we kind of worked as a team, like, hey, we diagram, like, hey, this is the point of triage. So that when they pass it to me, I can take that and close it within 1 call. If your triage is weak, it's going to take me following up probably for a while, multiple times. So they saw, like, light bulb in their head, like, hey, if I do a good job here, this guy's going to make me money today or tomorrow. You know what I mean? So, and before that, there wasn't really much of a structure. The setters were basically like, hey, if they had a hot prospect, they could close it. But a lot of times people were just saying they were really interested and just wanting to get the price and that sort of thing. So I was like, hey guys, don't fall for that. Actually, like, challenge them a little bit, give them, like, ask them some tough questions, be real with them, and, like, let them know, hey, this is a real business opportunity. It's not like open to every single person, So challenge them, do this. I wrote them their scripts. I just took, one night, like 11 p.m. I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna write the script for them.
Yeah.
And so I used the frameworks of the triage, wrote it out specific to our company, and from that's what I think culminated in that 20,000 week that I had to close out the month. And it was just crazy how that all happened. But when I was in it, I didn't really know what it was amounting to
Yeah.
until like it was like 3 days left in the month. I started doing some calculations on my phone, like what my commission would be, and I saw 28,000. I was like, my heart started
There's no
jumping
way.
out of my yeah. I was like, what the heck? Like I had to have missed something here. Like, and so once I redid the calculations, it came back the same. I was like, I didn't have words. I just
Yeah.
took my phone, ran downstairs, showed my wife the number on the calculator, and she was like, are you
There's
kidding
no
me? Like,
way.
yeah. She was just like about to fall on the ground. I'm like
Yeah.
hyperventilating. I'm like, what the heck just happened? And then once I collected myself, I was like, all right, I got to hit 30 because
Yeah.
I told my hiring manager, I was like, hey, by January 2023, I want to consistently make 30 to 40K. Is that possible? And he said, yeah, once we start ramping up ads and we start doing all these things, we eventually want to hit 500,000 a month in total revenue. So yes, eventually, and the plan is hopefully get you into that leadership role and where you're getting some rev share and all that. So yeah, by January, very possible. Well, I did that the
6 months
first month.
early.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, so I hit my personal goal the first
Uh-huh.
month, and then their goal of 500,000 a month, they hit 560. That was their record.
Nice.
They hit that last month as well. So, and I was basically half the revenue. Um, so wild month. I will never forget it.
Yeah. Dude,
Um,
that
crazy,
is,
man.
yeah, dude, that is such a good story. Like I usually have the screen just like fixated on you. For those of you that are watching or whatever, I was literally smiling for the last 3 minutes. Like it was just it's so awesome to see, and a lot of stuff that I kind of want to unpack there. But I think that one of the last things that you said is, you helped this company hit record months. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, a lot of people that are thinking about remote closing, or, when I first learned about remote closing, I'm sure it was the same with you, is like, you're hearing these numbers of, 15, 20, 30, 50,000 a month. And it's like, it's just almost unfathomable, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to kind of wrap your mind around. But for those of you that are kind of listening and you're in that same mindset, it's the reason that we're able to make the money that we can, right, as a remote closer, is because we're helping these businesses make money, right? The business made $560,000. You made a small portion of that, right? Or, what, I wouldn't say small portion, but you made a percentage of that, right? It's not just like, no, they're just paying you, right? It's an expense. It's they're investing into you and your skills, so they don't have to take the calls themselves. And, they have someone like you that's putting in the work and really building out the team. And that's the second thing that we've basically known each other for, I don't know, 30 minutes. And I just wanted to say, dude, I'm super proud of you. Like there's there's a lot of things that Navin just broke down that really showcase why he was able to make the 30,000 a month, because you can come in as a remote closer and take calls, right? And you can make some good money. But what Navin is doing is he came into this business and he's like literally building out other profit centers for that business. He's, finding other appointment setters. He's training the appointment setters. He's building out the scripts for the appointment setters, right? There's so many other things that he had to do in order to hit that 30,000 a month, right? And I think to me, the like the mind-blowing part of that, dude, is like, you're doing this part-time, right? You still have a full-time job. So it's like, it's great. And I'm just excited to see, what happens when you are able to take this full-time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, did you want to touch anything else on that part?
Yeah. It was part-time call load, but I would say any free moment I had, I was either, they threw me like, hey, this person said this, what do I say back? So I'd give them a response. And so they're learning along the way. I'm teaching along the way. And, so it was very rewarding. I think, their excitement just jumped through the roof for their job. Like, I think that's the most rewarding part of it, is that these guys show up every day. They're like, who can I get on
Yeah.
Naveen's calendar, closing at a very high percentage especially when they're doing that triage, the right way, not skipping steps, that sort of thing. It makes it easier for me, and then they see the payoff very quickly. They've made more money than they've ever made before. And they were making things way more complicated
Yeah.
before I started teaching. Like they were having like 45-minute setting
Oh
calls.
no.
And I was like, you guys can just do 10 minutes of work and I'll take it the rest of the way and you're going to get paid, right? So, very easy selling point for them. Like, yeah, man, get me off these calls. I don't want to, they didn't enjoy that part of it. They were on the phones for such a long time and it wasn't getting them paid. And so they were just like, why am I doing this? This is like a part-time, like maybe it'll be nice if I get paid sometimes, but now they're looking at it like, man, I can start stacking up some money, and so just their excitement for any time that they can get somebody on my calendar, that type of stuff is priceless. And that makes me enjoy my role in this company even more. Just being able to build that team. We're just like talking to each other. Okay, this is like my setters are now like my informants. They're like, hey, so this is what I found out. Go get it, man. And it's pretty cool. Like a lot of things that came out of this, I'd never even expected. And I really enjoy it. I don't consider it to be work in comparison to what I do for corporate. It's just like, this is fun. This is natural. This is, even though I guess the engineering part of my brain helps in this side because, I take processes and I make them more efficient. That's basically how my brain works. And now it's just in this setting, it's great because now you're just going to get paid much better for it. So
yeah, you get paid better, and honestly, you get paid what you're worth, right? It's like we were talking about it before we started recording. It's like you could put the exact same amount of work at at the job that you're working right now, and they're gonna like laugh you out of the room if you ask them to get paid what you're doing for the current company or the remote company you're working with. So there was one thing that completely slipped my mind. Oh, so what's this is for any like salespeople that are listening to this. Like, what were some of your biggest like takeaways, or maybe some like tips and tricks, more just on the sales side? So that's helped you, increase your close percentage. Like more just again sales tips wise. Like what were some of your biggest takeaways from some of the training?
I think the framework is awesome. Having a kind of like a plan in place, so to say. A path to take the call, and I think ultimately just being present with the person you're talking to. I think if your follow-up questions are based on what they just said, now they don't know there's a script. It's like, it's this guy's just talking to me. And I think that based on my experiences of talking to people in that setting, or anywhere, actually, anything that I've ever bought, when somebody's talking directly to me and speaking to me, they're more often, if the product works, more often than not, they're going to get my credit card. And so I kind of had that in my mind. And basically my dad was my example for just like crazy results. My dad, he moved from the Fiji Islands when he was like in his 20s, did some odd jobs, then found himself in car sales. And that's where he found his thing. And he's just selling out of a small town, Springfield, Oregon. And when he was in his 40s, he was selling about 100 cars a month. And and now he's like 68 years old and he's still selling around 50 appointment only. His clientele,
self-genning his own his car sales.
yeah, it's crazy. Like there have been so many layoffs, company changes, buyouts, everything, and he's lasted through those, every single one. He's the sole survivor. And the thing that my dad, like, I would listen in sometimes when he's talking to his customers, he was just so real with them, and he's just like, yeah, if you want it, yeah, sure. This is what it does. if you like it, yeah, no worries. If you don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And just took the pressure. Everybody comes into car sales just thinking, gosh, I'm going to be sold everything under the roof.
Hmm.
Funny thing is, he did end up selling everything under the roof, but he just took all that pressure off them.
Yeah.
And people now will travel. People who've moved away from Oregon and found themselves in another part of the country will travel back just to work with
Mm.
him, and the loyalty to him is just astounding to me.
Yeah.
But it's the realness with people that ultimately will translate nowhere,
Hmm.
no matter what you're selling or whatnot.
Yeah, I think like, I've done a good amount of, I wouldn't say sales training, but I've been doing sales for, a couple of years at this point. And I think that that's, and the thing about it though, is like, that's kind of the hard part to teach, like it's the example that I always get, or not example, but it's like, it's hard to teach someone how to have a good personality, like if someone
Mhm.
comes in and they have that mentality of, everyone talks about like being a used car salesman or like that, just like really pressure, like hard pressure type sales mentality. Can it work?
Mhm.
Sure. But from what I found, just so many people take that, like they're already so defensive when they jump on a sales call or any type of call, right? They
Yeah,
assume it to be a sales call, and as soon as you can take that pressure away, it just makes it so much more of a conversation and a
right,
lot easier to like they get to that point where they're like waiting for the sale, but you're not pushing it on. You know what I mean? It's like
right,
they ask you like, okay,
right.
cool, like what are next steps? How can I like take advantage of what you're talking about? So
Yep.
um lots of good stuff there, man. What would you say, for someone that's listening to this and they've listened up to this point, or actually, let's not get there yet. One last thing I wanted to kind of come back through. Anyone that is listening to this, that they're currently in sales, right? Because you're basically a sales integrator for your your current day job, company. Um,
Mhm.
and we've kind of talked about how you'll never really be able to make like what you want to be able to provide for yourself and your family from the corporate world. So someone that is currently in some sort of sales, real estate, insurance, mortgage, what would you say to that person to to urge them like, hey dude, there's so much more out there that you can use these skills to get paid for? What would you say to that person?
I would say, are you getting paid what you're worth? You know, if the answer is yes, then cool, keep doing that. If not, then there's a whole other world out there, and you don't have to be tied. If you're a real estate agent, you don't own your calendar at all.
Mm,
Especially if you're a good one. Uh, like my personal realtor, all she does is real estate. There's a lot of part-time ones out there that think they can kind of sneak in and take a little bit of the glory, but it's always the ones that are fully invested in that are the best ones.
mm,
And she's available all day, every day. And and some of those just don't end up the way that you want. So you're spending a lot of time and you got the recessions that hit and whatnot. I mean, it's affecting everyone now. It's affecting every industry. But what I would say is, are you getting paid what you're worth? Are you getting paid for your performance? If you get really good at your skill, if you work really hard for the next 90 days, are you going to get a $30,000 raise? Are you going to,
mm,
those are the types of things that I would talk about. Especially like with my peer group, a lot of people who make over six figures, they're comfortable. They're like, oh yeah, I made it. I'm making six
yeah.
figures. And that to me is like that's the ultimate trap, because
Mm,
maybe six figures was a big deal in 2005, but now six figures is like the $60,000 job in
mhm.
2005. You know what I mean? Uh and I think from my perspective, just because of this last few weeks I've been doing this, me and my wife before this, we were talking about like inflation, we're talking about gas prices and all this stuff. And now it's like, I don't care anymore. It doesn't affect me. I'm going to go make whatever we need to make. And we're going to have the
Yeah.
life that we want. Because now I'm building myself to be one of those people that not only can produce, but will be headhunted. And I've been headhunted,
Mm,
multiple times. And the future is really bright. Talking about having eventually a six-figure month is not out of the question
yeah.
now. Making seven figures is a possibility. It's on the roadmap. It's not a pipe dream. So, I'd probably say a lot. Like if I was talking to
Yeah, just
somebody,
have a full-on 30-minute
yeah,
conversation with them.
like, yeah. I think it's with that group, they're making good money in terms of society, how it looks. So you can start feeling really good about yourself. And that's the trap. I think people who are making not much money now, it's not like, it's pretty obvious to them they don't make enough. But when
Mhm.
you're over six figures, well over six figures, you can have this idea that you have it good, and it's just not true. I've seen so many people get laid off, and
Mhm.
I've seen, basically corporations are, it's not specific to where I work, it's everywhere. They're looking to increase their bottom line. And if something happens like a recession or whatnot, a lot of times the workforce is where they're looking for that bottom line. And
Mhm.
adding more work to your plate, taking on two or three people's jobs into one, but getting paid basically the same amount.
Yeah.
Um, there's all kinds of issues that can come up with being in that six figure range, that I hear all the time. I think a lot of people in my position would think you're crazy for doing something else. That's
Yeah.
the that's the real crazy part, is that they would probably hear what I'm doing and go, wow, that's weird. um, but I don't care. I just don't have that ego. I'm at the place where I'm like, I want to help other people build their companies. I want to help someone. Our the offer I'm on was averaging 200K according to what they were saying. During the interview process, it was 200K a month. And the goal was to get to 500,000 by the end of the year, and then start hitting 1 million 2023. And to hit that over 500,000 mark the first month, it's like, it's also giving them hope that they can hit their goals a lot quicker too. i
Mhm.
I think that's more rewarding than just about anything I could do in corporate.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's all, that stuff is super powerful stuff. Like literally take note. Anyone that's watching this, like take notes, like so much stuff in the past, like rewind the past 5 minutes and listen to some of that stuff, because it was all really good. Um, so the last thing, man, like it was basically the same question, but if someone is hesitant about investing in themselves, right? Because I think that there's so many different ways that people are being sold, like make money online, right? What do you think? Kind of like what you said earlier. You tried a bunch of different things. You tried, just all these different online business models. What would you say to someone that is on the fence of remote closing versus, let's say, drop shipping, right? Like what,
Yeah.
anything specific to them?
Yeah, I would say, you know try and look at, if you're really trying to get out of your situation, take the path of least resistance. When you're starting something completely on your own, and I tried numerous times, you have to put good 80 hours a week into that. And if you already have a full-time job, that's gonna be tough. Something has to go. And for me, every single time, the job won over, because it was just killing me to build stuff on the side, and always hit a ceiling, because it's all
Mm,
me. And in this situation, it's very natural fit, because it's more like you're just learning a new skill, and you're still working for someone, so it's not like you have to think about everything. You could just zero in, learn this skill, and make a lot of money, because it's a high valued skill. And these growing companies need good people, and they need people who are invested in themselves. First of all, if you invest in yourself, you're going to get people to invest in themselves too. And
mhm.
um it's to me, it's the path of least resistance, especially if you're trying to get out of something. And it's the quickest that you're going to start generating money. And from all the things that I've tried, obviously this is mind blowing. I mean, I want to say I've made 52,000 in about 6 weeks, and it's part time. It's I don't even have full call load yet.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's why I'm so excited to see like what can be made of it, and that's actually a pretty frequent question that we get on Instagram and YouTube comments and some of the stuff that we post on Facebook is like, I'm currently working a job, can I do this part time? Like Navin is a perfect example of like, yes, you can do this full time. There's another guy we're gonna have on here in the next couple of weeks. He was a full time teacher, right, 40 hours a week, and he was able to on the nights, on the weekends, take calls. And I think that just goes directly back to what you were talking about at the beginning. It's like, you can sit here all day long and complain about how you don't have time to do stuff, or you can like make time to change your life and do the things that you need to get to that point. So Navin, dude, I highly appreciate you spending the time here with us and going through your story and giving us some of the tips and tricks. I even, I was taking personal notes over here just of a couple of things that you said that were really powerful. And I think that a lot of people will be able to take advantage of. So, again, and I know I keep saying this, but if you guys are listening to this and, you've heard one or two of the things that we've talked about here today of, changing your life, not worrying about gas prices and the price of bread going up, right? And inflation, and having those conversations of like, okay, this is actually possible and I can create a better life for myself, for my family, and really give them the life that's that you probably have wanted to. So if you are listening to this and you're on YouTube on the podcast, the first link in the description in the show notes will be a 19-minute video by our founder Cole that goes a little bit more in detail about how this whole industry works, right? How you can learn this one high value skill, without building a business, without creating your own product or service, and really create a full-time income and beyond by doing that. Again, at that video, 19 minutes, click the link. And, it doesn't sell anything, right? It's not going to, there's no price point at the end. But of course, out of full transparency, if you are like, hey, I do want to learn more about, remote closing and how this all can work, there will be, an opportunity to do so and talk more to the team. So I wanted to throw that in there, but Navin, any last words, parting words for anyone that's listening to this episode?
Just be a sponge, learn. I've learned so much. I haven't been able to join the live calls for Ascension yet, which is crazy, but I've watched all the recordings and I always get some gold nugget from every call. And I always have to go back to my script, restructure it and add something they said. And it's all fire, man.
Good. All right. Parting words, be a sponge, be open to learning, be humble, and take action, right? That's the biggest thing here. So one more time, Navin, thank you so much for jumping on this episode. And if you guys want to learn more about remote closing, remember, click the links down below. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. If you're watching on the or listening on the podcast, make sure to subscribe. And we're always trying to get reviews out there. So make sure to leave a review and let us know what you thought about the episode. So anyway, guys, Aaron here from the Remote Closing Academy podcast. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Talk soon and peace.